So
It would be helpful if I unmuted myself. Hello, welcome to the program. We are live, we are here, and of course, people are messaging me right when the show starts. Yeah, yes. All right. So yeah. We're busy right now. Message in 2 hours. Okay, so we're live. We're here. It's been a while. Sorry. I have been sick. I have been dealing with not feeling well, and it really it sucks that when you're not feeling well, you can't do anything, and it impairs you to the point where you just don't want to deal with anything either. And between my own depression, which I've been dealing with, and between dealing with being sick, it just made things impossible to get on the air. And I pledged to myself that the rest of the month I would be on the air at least every day for the hour. We'll get to 2 hours, but I wanted to be on the air every day at least for an hour to get things back to a well regulated place and go from there for you. So, it is what it is. My apologies on not um being here lately, and it's taken its toll, unfortunately. But I'm here, and we'll do a show, and hopefully you'll check it out later and go from there. I'm gonna replay the show in the morning and do it that way for those who might miss it, and we'll do at least an hour and get back to two and go from there. It's just been one of those rough um bits of life where you gotta make sacrifices on what you're dealing with and go for the best route for you. And I am going for the best route for me, and this is where it takes me. So, you know, hopefully we'll get some listeners and get some people watching again and going from there. I know I kind of ruined that and made it much more harder for me to be able to do. But we are live, we are here, and I'm happy that you're here with me. So we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna get back to doing at least an hour at 3 o'clock every day because it matters and you matter and the show matters. And then we'll replay the show at 9 o'clock in the morning and go from there for those who might have missed it or aren't used to us being back. So there's that. Welcome to Monday. I hope you're having a good day. I hope all is well with you. I totally get if you are not having a good day. Good good days cannot always be had. I have learned this on my journey that you can't always have a good day. Sometimes you just get wrangled into a bad day. And I hope that on your journey today, we are helping you have a good day. So, you know, there's that. Uh, I hate Oz. They're so dramatic and needless. But it's understandable that not a lot of people are here today because we haven't been here. And we're trying to come back to do the show on a more regular basis. And I hope you understand that shit happens. And I apologize. That's really all I can do. I have not been maintaining everything as best as I could, and now I need to do better, and we'll get there and go from there. And for those asking, I'm fine. Um, well, let me rephrase that. I'm as fine as I can be at this present moment in time. Um, I could be better. Things have been a little difficult, and things unfortunately have been a little difficult. So it's shown in everything I'm doing. And I'm trying to get back on track. And after this shooting, I realized I really need to kind of get up in gear because America needs somebody that will talk about why things matter and why things are important and what matters, and not bullshit you with this crap that Fox News is feeding you. And we need one more liberal out there. So I've decided I'm gonna be that one more liberal. And like it or not, we're gonna move forward and go from there. Um Replacement theory is something that the right wing likes to boast about. And for those who don't know, this was a part of the white supremacist shooters uh, bullshit um, propaganda manifesto. And um, apparently, Matt Gaetz believes, and this is going to be the talking point now. He's filtered it through. The talking point is going to be replacement theory is race neutral. There wasn't there when it came to replacement theory. You could be replaced by any person, and that was the whole thing, which is untrue. But they want you to have a shifting narrative of the racist ideology. They don't want to look like this white supremacist who goes in and shoots up a top supermarket. So they're now saying on the right that the replacement theory was race neutral. If you believe that, you're on cloud nine and you should stay there. Um, Peyton Gendron, the shooting suspect, alleged shooter in Buffalo, said that this was part of his manifesto. Gaetz admitted that he promoted the so-called replacement theory in a tweet agreeing with Fox News' Tucker Carlson, who also promoted it. See, this is how it goes. It goes on one little place, and then you get the crazy, and then they got to backtrack. One little place, and then you get the crazy, and then you got to backtrack. But they're not so much backtracking as the reimagining. And this is why we need Black Lives Matter more than ever, because we need a group of people who are going to fight and be loud and get in people's faces and, I'm sorry, be a mob to stop this white on black violence and people who perpetrate such things. The theory suggests that white Americans are being replaced by immigrants. Black people weren't immigrants. No, some were, but black people were taken here in slave ships and deposited here and didn't have any choice on whether or not to be here. There have been some black people who have been immigrants later, but for the most part, black people did not have a choice to come to this country. Matt Gaetz told Newsweek, "I've never spoken of replacement theory in terms of race. I was speaking in race-neutral political terms about how Democrats in many urban cities have failed to their voters of all colors and kind. Thus, I charge that Democrats seek unchecked immigration to replace the people who have relied on them most of their determinant." Let's reimage. That's bullshit. So let's put it in the poop emoji and act as if this is true. This is not race. It's never been race neutral. It never has been. Now, he's calling the Anti-Defamation League, Matt Gaetz, a racist organization. How can you be, if you're trying to be against defamation, how are you racist? Explain that to me, because I'm missing it. Because they're not. But these people like Matt Gaetz and Tucker Carlson perpetuate the myth that they are. And they will go on to perpetuate the myth, and nothing will happen to them. Unless you have good people like Black Lives Matter coming out and stepping up and protesting and moving the mark to where they can't use the mark to hit us over the head with it. He is totally okay with this racist theory, Matt Gaetz and Tucker Carlson, both. And any other genuflecting Republican sycophant to Donald Trump. They're all okay with this because they have to have something to galvanize their right-wing hate machine. And the difference between what they normally do and what happened on Sunday is that the galvanization took a turn for the worse, where people ended up dying because of it. People ended up being shot and murdered because the right wing is happy to be the white wing and is totally okay with going down in history as being racist thugs. It's really that simple. They're totally okay with this. And then when something bad actually happens, when the worst case scenario out of worst case scenarios actually happen, you get these apologists like Matt Gaetz saying, well, wait a minute, it doesn't quite mean that. And everybody is supposed to accept that. New reimaging of what they want it to mean. Because they've been allowed on a regular basis to move the mark. Republicans are constantly able to move the mark and allowed to move the mark when it comes to this. And again, that's my plea to Black Lives Matter and other groups to stop letting them. Stop letting people like Matt Gaetz move the mark. Have more stories like Raw Story pointing out the simple fact that there's a guy in Congress who is totally okay with a racist theory, and he was okay with it up until the point that some people got shot and murdered by a white nationalist, a proclaimed white nationalist, an alleged shooter, shot up these people. And then all of a sudden, we have part of his manifesto coming out. And because it's in the manifesto, they have to re-image something that is clearly meant to be what it's supposed to be. They thought they pinned the tail on a donkey when in fact they overreached. And this is the result of their overreaching. 10 dead people plus 3, 4 injured in a supermarket. And it could have been worse had he not been talked down by the cops. And by the way, good for the cops to talk him down, but nobody decided to shoot him. Nobody thought they were in fear of their lives. If it was black on black crime, you can bet that these cops would have been in fear of their lives. But because it's a white guy who is the alleged shooter, you have no, oh, I was in fear of my life. Somehow they managed. See, this is what grinds me. These cops, they say, oh, I was in fear of my life. We were fighting to preserve everyone's safety. We needed to diffuse the situation in the best way possible, and that meant using our weaponry. Yet here we have a guy who has shot 10 people. This alleged shooter is walking around, breathing air, and happy to make a court case out of it because these cops, apparently after 10 black people getting shot, 10 black people getting murdered, plus the injuries, you have these cops who are apparently supermen because they weren't in fear for their lives. I don't understand this. One minute you have cops who are in fear of their lives, and that's justifiable, and you want to be protecting of the people around you and everything else. Well, make it consistent. Either you guys are fucking fabulous superheroes who can defuse this alleged murderer's situation, and you are perfect for the job, or you gotta use your weaponry and go after people. Somebody needs to explain that to me, because I don't get it. I don't understand how, in one breath, cops can just diffuse the situation. And I'm glad they did. Look, I'm thrilled they did. The cops did the right thing. But why can't the police officers in this case and every case do this? No injury, no bodily harm to this guy. I want to beat him in the head with a baseball bat. This is what I want to do to this guy. This alleged shooter. I want to take a baseball bat and smash his head in. He killed 10 people for no reason. So my reasoning is, hit him in the head with a baseball bat. I want to do that. That's why I'm not a cop. I'm a mini. We'll be right back.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1934. That was the day Minneapolis Teamsters walked off the job. It was an historic strike that coincided with the pivotal Toledo Autolite and West Coast waterfront strikes. Local Teamsters, many of whom later founded the Socialist Workers' Party, had been riding a wave of success, having organized the coal yards in February. Especially important was the development of the cruising picket squad. It became a standard in later CIO battles. That spring, union leaders were determined to organize all the truck drivers and warehouse workers in Minneapolis. By May, Local 574 had over 5,000 members. The trucking bosses refused to deal with the union, and so they walked. The flying pickets toured the city and shut down all trucking. Strikers enlisted the support of the unemployed councils. They also provided the structure for a women's auxiliary that produced important strike literature and bulletins, ran soup kitchens that fed thousands of strikers daily, fought scabs and police on the picket lines, and drove picket trucks. Historian Brian Palmer, author of Revolutionary Teamsters, the Minneapolis Trucker Strike of 1934, notes that strike leaders looked to the example of the Illinois Progressive Miners of America when it came to building the women's auxiliary. They too sought to make women an integral part of the strike, thus encroaching on the male world of waged work. Strike headquarters were established, and as Palmer describes, was a beehive of activity. The strike, as union carpenters and plumbers installed stoves, sinks, and serving counters. Electricians installed communication wiring. Donations of money, food, vehicles, and gas rolled in as the strike revved up. Local 574 was poised to make Minneapolis a union town. Labor History in 2 brought to you by the Illinois Labor History Society and The Rick Smith Show.
For all you Blue Lives Matter folks out there, I'm serious. I am deadly serious about it. We'll talk about the race theory, yada yada yada, part of that too with the Matt Gaetz thing, which is bullshit. But it was talking about black people, and it was talking about immigrants from Mexico and Honduras and all brown people, basically. But back to this cop thing for a minute, because I'm really with right now the people who are like Blue Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. Yay. Okay, Blue Lives Matter. Why is it that the cops are able to diffuse the situation. Like, why were the cops able to just totally and swiftly? I mean, do they deserve more pay? If they do, better let's go around and use these cops to train other cops who shoot black people for traffic stops because they were so scared. Because either you're so scared for your life during a fucking traffic stop, or you're so scared for your life during I don't know, a Buffalo massacre. But you can't have both ways. See, I believe that they did the right thing in neutralizing the alleged gunman. I think that was the appropriate way to deal with the situation. They did it exactly how they should have. These cops. All right? Why can't we have that with black people? Is my question. Are they all replacement theorists? Or they're all thinking the replacement theory is coming, so I better get this black person out of the way. Because yikes. I need to know. I seriously am wondering this because I'm told Blue Lives Matter. And I look, I'm not fuck the police. I'm not defund the police. I'm not there. Reform the police. Okay, I'm there. But like teach these cops who are not knowing how to use a taser properly and shooting suspects, and teach these cops who are just not sure what a toy gun is and shooting children that are black how to police, right? Teach them how to police. Teach them the methods that the Buffalo police heroically stopped a larger massacre from happening. Otherwise, I have to go back to the theory that it's because these people are black. And that is, again, where Black Lives Matter comes in. Where we need more people pointing this out. And I can't, look, I'm pasty ass white. I'm the whitest guy you'll find. I cannot be the one that is doing this. Right? I can't be the champion for Black Lives Matter when I'm the whitest person here. That's not my cup of tea. But what I'm saying is we need more demonstrations. We need more people calling out this bullshit. We need more people reimaging the narrative to the proper way. And we need to really function properly in a society where it shouldn't just be because 10 people are gunned down in a supermarket by an alleged gunman that a racist theory and untrue theory is not okay. You see what I'm saying? It boils down to the simple fact that we have in this country a problem. And it is a policing problem. And it is a moral problem. And the moral problem is that there are too many people who believe in mainstream that the replacement theory is a legitimate theory that you can decide is factual. And that, furthermore, the replacement theory is not racist or based on racism, when clearly, its entire hallmark is based on racism and being racist. That's it, the kit and caboodle. So I ask again, How is it these cops miraculously, who I'm sure had to be in fear of their lives, did not do anything to the suspect? How is it these cops managed to properly apprehend this alleged shooter who had just murdered 10 people and allegedly injured others? How is it these cops are able to split the atom in this way? Somebody needs to explain this to me because I don't get it. Because fine, you want to go all Blue Lives Matter on me and everything else and shout it to the hilltops. Fine, shout it to the hilltops. But I don't see anybody, when they apprehended this guy, putting a bullet in his head, or his chest, or his back. I see them talking him down in a discussion and doing exactly what you are supposed to do to defuse the situation. So I have to then go to myself and ask, is it because he's a white guy and a white suspect that he got this such good treatment? That question has to be raised. Because I don't know about you, and I'm not being sarcastic here, but getting a radio call, I would be in fear of my life knowing that there was an active shooter out there who just gunned down allegedly 10 people and injured others, and now I have to go in and save the day. I would be a little bit concerned. So while I'm grateful that justice will work in this system, Trayvon Martin, Freddie Gray, all the others, the justice system didn't work. So explain that. Please, for God. But,
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. Today we're in Kansas, where redistricting map proposals are being reviewed by the Kansas Supreme Court on May 16th. The League of Women Voters Kansas challenged the legislature-approved voting maps, pointing out how the new lines for State House and Senate fractured black and brown communities to intentionally weaken minority voting strength in Wichita, Olathe, Leavenworth, and Kansas City, Kansas. The Kansas Attorney General is endorsing the maps, using the familiar defense of, yes, but it's all legal. The Kansas Reflector reports that Attorney General Derek Schmidt is quoted as saying, anyone who believes a redistricting map is unfair or dissatisfying in some respect can claim gerrymandering, but there is no legal standard to measure such claims. This is thanks to the U.S. Supreme Court striking down portions of the 1965 Voting Rights Act and refusing to hear a gerrymandering case in 2019, kicking redistricting cases back to the states. However, one remaining provision of the Voting Rights Act in place is the intentional gerrymandering of majority-minority communities. The state's congressional map is also under scrutiny by the state Supreme Court after it was struck down by a lower court as unconstitutional. The proposed map waters down the vote of more liberal areas by shifting half of Wyandotte County out of the urban 3rd District and moves Collegetown Lawrence out of the 2nd District into the rural 1st District. We have links to the League of Women Voters Kansas website for more information at our website, AmericanDemocracyMinute.org. For the American Democracy Minute, I'm Brian Beal.
We are back. Just the hour today. We're going to try to do an hour every day, if not two. But today we will just do the hour of the program today. If you want to leave a comment, if you're in the Facebook chat, unfortunately, I can't see those comments. But if you go to the YouTube chat, I can see those comments. So feel free, and we will be here Monday through Friday, at least for the hour, and try to get back to the 2-hour show. I have been working on it, and I'm finally at the point where I can actually do the show in 2 hours, and I appreciate you stopping along to visit the show and see what we have to offer here on FYNation.com. I got a lot to fix with the website, too, by the way. I am not unknowing of the fact that I have to do that. It's kind of like the cops. The cops are not unknowing that they have to be pillars of the community. So, like, let's go back to that. And we're going to go to Ted Cruz next. But in closing, because we got cut off by the break, why can't we have cops that are able to handle a traffic stop? Why can't we have cops that are able to handle things that matter, like, I don't know, everyday policing? Like, we have these cops in Buffalo who are able to amazingly apprehend without injury a person who is, I don't know, like allegedly a mass murderer. And here we have it, not a scratch on him. Speaking of not a scratch on him, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is a dick. Did I say that loud enough? Clear enough? I'm really not a fan of Ted Cruz. And I'm really not a fan of the Supreme Court either. The senator from Texas got a good break. The senator did. From a court case on Monday, the court struck down a $250,000 cap on the amount of post-election funds a candidate can repay for personal loans they made to their campaign, finding that the restriction violated the First Amendment. The 6-3 ruling split along Trump lines, with the court's Trumpiest of judges over the dissent of the 3 liberals said that Cruz would unduly burden a candidate's constitutional right to use his own money to facilitate political speech. So if you got money, and you got lots of money, you could use as much as you want for your campaign. What could possibly go wrong with that? By restricting the sources of funds that campaigns may use to repay candidate loans, Roberts wrote, it increases the risk that such loans will not be repaid. The candidate won't repay his own loans. That in turn inhibits candidates from loaning money to the campaigns in the first place, burdening core speech. So let's unpack this. Let's unpack this. Basically, you want to get to point B, and you're at point A. The only way you can get to point B is if you load up point A with a bucket of cash to get to point B. And point B won't happen if you can't do whatever you want to point A to get to point B. See, it's not that complicated. It's basically saying that however much I have of the pie, I can give to myself. Because if I can't give it to myself, then I can't eat, then I starve. That's a better analogy. So to prevent me from starving, I'm going to allow you to give you as big a portion of the pie as I want to eat. And it's like, really? Hey, Jim, how are you? See you in the chat. And I can't believe that this is actually a thing. But apparently, that, and it's not even say, like, I could go to Times Square and start reading a manifesto, and everybody will hear it that's within earshot until the cop tases me for reading the manifesto in Times Square, and I can be heard. But what the court is saying is that, well, to be heard more, to make your free speech a shouting match, you can now lend yourself as much money as you want. And there's no cap, because if there's a cap, then you're inhibited. So to uninhibit you, we have taken the restraints off. And now you could flood the person, the campaign, with your own money. So who is to say, as a private person, I'm running for Congress. I'm running for Congress, and I go to another private person, say a Chinese private person, and I say, you know what, can you loan me $500,000 and I'll do whatever you want. I will do whatever you want in Congress for the $500,000. Okay? And the Chinese man says, okay, that's a cheap rate. Here's $500,000 for your personal self. And here we have the likes of Ted Cruz gonna be able to have legitimate bribery in the form of personal loans. He can go to anybody now and say, give me a loan. He can literally loan shark himself out of campaign, and then be beholden to all these loan sharks. And because it was all personal, it's not going to be reported as somebody. It's not going to be reported as somebody high and mighty giving Ted Cruz campaign a loan. No, it's going to be listed as a personal loan, because I loaned myself that money. And now we have an ability to run rimshot over candidates with little to no money. Unless they want to be bribed by the next person and just say, hey, give me a personal loan. Hey, give me a personal. This opens up the floodgates for bribery. I don't know how you can't see this. It was bad enough when it was $250,000 and there was a cap. But now there's no cap, because we don't want to infringe the pie eating contest that is the Republican Party, to eat as much of the pie as possible so they don't starve. So here you have Ted Cruz, who's going to be able to get rich off of campaigning. They've literally turned campaigning into a get-rich-quick scheme. Before they're even in office, they've managed to turn it. They can lose. And still manage to make it a get-rich-quick scheme. And this is horrifying for our modern politics. This should terrorize you. Because forget about a Black Lives Matter slogan, as one of the chatters in Detroit said. Forget about any cause that you believe in. Pro-choice, pro-life. You now have legitimate bribery in the case of personal loans to candidates. The candidate can make a personal loan to himself at any amount, and it doesn't have to be said who is making the loan. And as Jim says, effective governing won't even make it to the list of priorities, let alone a Black Lives Matter slogan. So I could loan myself $500,000 through European despot, aka Donald Trump's minions, and I don't have to report it as anything but a personal loan because I'm personally loaning it to myself. And now, because I personally loaned it to myself, nobody will have any transparency or caps on how much money you can loan. What you have in this situation is outright fraudulent governing and greed. And this should scare everybody. And you have the open door policy of whatever. Oh, I need to loan myself $1 billion. Okay, you're loaning your campaign $1 billion? Who's paying that $1 billion? Doesn't matter. The campaign is getting paid back. You're not infringing on anybody's rights. So here we have this easy money, easy ticket, as Kevin points out, a sweet ass way to go. And actual politics, actual governing will no longer take place. The richest man or woman will win. They've opened the floodgates. And you won't see Democratic side freaking out about this. You will not see the Democratic Party coming and saying, this should be a thing that should be stopped. This is a thing that is bad. This is unconstitutional. No. You will see very little fight for this. Elaine Kagan described a scenario in which a newly elected politician who loaned his campaign $500 turns to wealthy donors and corporate lobbyists after an election to return or recoup his debt. Exactly. Even better than I described. And I didn't even go that far down into the article. They nailed it on our side. They nailed exactly what it is. This is open air bribery. And you won't have to have any papers, please, to allow anything to happen other than money flowing in and flowing out. This is a personal loan. And Jim appropriately says, so this is what happens when capitalism eats democracy. Yes. Because you cannot starve the free speech monster. You have to be able to have as much free speech as you can afford. And here we are with an uber amount of free speech and the amount of a personal loan. And then you can, here's the beauty of it. Then you can go around saying, I self-funded my campaign. My campaign is fully self-funded. I don't take any money from donors. I'm worth so much money. And it's all secretive. So you're loaning yourself all this money. And you're getting donors. But why do we have campaign finance laws anyway? What is the point? Just write the biggest check, and that is who wins. Write the biggest check, and then you have somebody who is propped up as leader, and it's all good. That's what Ted Cruz wants. The biggest bank account wins. So now it's literally truth. These people aren't stupid. They're very smart and they're very scary and they're very totalitarian. And here they come with all their money and they're now self-made. Each one of these maggots are all self-made. And tell me they're not. Come out and tell me they're not. Tell me that somehow that is untrue. I loaned the campaign my fees. I'm not beholden to anybody. And he doesn't have to share who the money is coming from. Legalized bribery. And then, after they've lost, they get a cushy job on Wall Street. They get a cushy punditry job. They get a cushy six-figure lobbyist job. And they're golden. Tell me how this is democracy. Explain to me how this is nothing but oligarchy. And don't tell me, look, the Democrat and the Republican Party are the same. Don't tell me that. Because literally, I have the Republican Party crying out for this type of democracy. There needs to be a new word for it because I don't even know what to call it. But we need to come up with a new word. I mean, this is the best Ponzi scheme that I've ever seen. Where Bernie Madoff would be proud. Bernie Madoff would be proud. Governing by check. Governing by dollar is where we're at. It should make you angry. And, while I don't see every Democratic side languishing about this, I see enough to know there's a difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. I know that the judges on the Republican side all voted with it, and the Democratic side, not one voted with it. So when you come to me and you say, Tom, there's no difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, all you have to do is point to this decision that destroyed democracy today. A democracy was effectively destroyed. And if you're going to kid yourself and tell yourself that it wasn't, you're just fooling yourself. You're just fooling yourself. So the day that I decide to come back on the air is the day democracy died. And I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not being flamboyant, which I can be. I'm very flamboyant and hyperbolic, but I am not being either one of those things. The day I could just write myself a verse alone, and because of free speech, I could write myself whatever. Ooh, why are you? And by the way, this sets precedent now for any type of law. You name the law that involves money. You could just go and point to the Supreme Court decision and say, well, the Supreme Court said that if I loan myself money, I have to be able to pay it back. And there should be no cap. There should be no cap on what I have to worry about paying back. Because I want to be able to have the most free speech. La-ti-da. Don't you feel proud to be an American today? Don't you want to just raise your flag to capitalism and talk about how great it is and how wonderful it is and how much it just makes you so happy? It doesn't matter now whether it's Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton. It doesn't matter, because now, if Bernie Sanders has enough of a checkbook to loan Bernie Sanders the amount of money to become the person in the position that they want to become the person in the position do, they can do it. Stroke of a pen. Signing of a check. Democracy is murdered. Murdered. On 5/16/22. Yeah. And it's going to take, look, it's going to be a slow downhill process. It's going to be a slow downhill process. But don't tell me that this is not unplanned. Don't tell me that they don't see the big picture and how they want to have all the control. They want to control your bodies if you're a woman or a transgender person. They want to control your minds if you're an individual. And they want control of their pocketbook by making it so it is impossible to get people who believe in democracy and governing elected. Sorry to be the bearer of bad. Nothing else matters at this point. I could do another hour, but it doesn't really matter because this hour is the focus. The plan that has been, as Jim points out rightly, has been in operation for decades, has been to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze the middle class till they cannot fight back. And make the poor poorer. And then, if you're lucky enough to have a trickle down actually happen, you are grateful because it actually happened. But most people will never see that shining city on a hill because it's fabricated on bullshit. The great white hope of bullshit. It is non-existent. And it should bother everybody. I got one more story we're going to do really, really quick. And it's about Donald Trump. Can't go wrong with a Donald Trump story in Twitter. Oh, the Trump cult. The Trump cult. La-ti-da. Ta-da. And I got enough time to do this story, so we're going to do this story. And enjoy the rest of our day for our Monday. And it is a Monday. Happy Monday to everyone. We're going to get through this week together, even if I have to fight through it. Even if it is the end of democracy as we know it, and we keep fighting, I will be here with you to fight. All right? I will force myself to do it because I believe in this show. I believe in this network, and I just got to get back in the groove. Still got to get a groove back. So, yeah. Donald Trump. This story is from Axios. And the story is funny because we just talked about free speech. And Donald Trump says, I'm not ever going back to Twitter. But Donald Trump's filings for going public with his True Social company basically says that he may not make any other post on any other site for 6 hours. Therefore, he is free to post on any site to which he has access. So Donald Trump has given himself a loophole. This is what they do. They give themselves a loophole. They can say, I'm not going to do it. I want this piece of pie. This is my pie, cherry pie. And then they say, ooh, chocolate chip pie. I got to have me some of that pie. But I only want chocolate chip pie or cherry pie. I cannot have any chocolate chip pie. But here comes the loophole, the tiny little loophole where they come out and they say, well, if you do this in this way, if you manage to do this in this way, then, Mr. Trump, you can have both pieces of pie. You can have a cherry pie, which is your pie, and then you can go over and have some chocolate chip pie, which is my pie, because you've done these steps to make it so you can have both pies. You don't have to be beholden to some mamby-pamby liberal ideal of restriction or regulation or any of those naughty words. You don't have to do that. You have a loophole. You have an easy out. So you can go to your 80 million Twitter followers. You can go to all 80 million Twitter followers and tweet to them. You just, Mr. Trump, have to make sure that we get the first tweet. I mean tweet. It's like the only good thing about this part of the show is I want pie too, Jim. I want the chocolate chip pie. I'm not a fan of cherry, but you know, if it's there, I'll have it. But I want the chocolate chip pie. So we close on this hour, reminding you that Republicans, conservatives, they like loopholes in everything they do. They like themselves a loophole, whether it be Blue Lives Matter or whether it be, I don't know, posting on Twitter. They will find themselves a loophole. So if somebody said, no, you can't, Mr. Obama will come around and say, oh, yes, you can. So never fear. Republicans will always be an escape artist. They will always have in a hatch that they can go down and save their day. Because they are that batshit awful. So, I leave you with those thoughts. Remember, we are dealing with scumbags, liars, and losers. And I would like to say that there are nice ones in the bunch. But they usually become like Charlie Crist and Michael Bloomberg. And then look at them. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Stay safe. Welcome back.